So basically, see, this is the report that comes out every year. It's called the emissions cap report, meaning, what the science requires us to do in terms of cutting down the emissions, the fundamental culprit for the climate crisis. So it has found, there's a bit of a good news, which is, it has found that projected projected rise of temperature is come down a bit.
It's come down, but it's still going up.
No. What has gone up is the emissions that is found. Now, what we need to be clear about, the temperature rise that is projected, that has come down slightly, yeah? But that's where the news ends, the good news ends. The bad news is the science wants us to cut down our emissions by at least 25% by 2030. That is the safe threshold of less than 2 degrees Celsius. I know it sounds too complicated, but basically what the science wants us to cut down and what we're doing. What we did last year was actually rose the emissions by 2.3%. So we are nowhere far. The most important takeaway for me here is that it looks like the 1.5 Celsius safe threshold, that is getting out of the grip. There's a dire warning that this might be really, really going out of our hand for good.
Just painting a picture of where we are. We're stood by Naveen at the bottom of the steps. Behind us is the main TV studio where BBC World is going out from at the moment. In front of us, lots of producers on their desk, and see one of them cutting audio in front of us. When you came upstairs earlier today and you were talking about COP to Equasi, who's in charge of the programme today, I was overhearing the conversation. I'm nosy. One of the things that struck me was you were talking to Equasi about COP and the voice of the Global South. Does that worry you because they suffer, don't they, often the consequences of climate change? Will they have a big enough voice moving forward?
You see, this is where, because we are not seeing the cutting down of emissions as fast as the science wants us to, that is why the agenda of adaptation. What is that? It's about now living with all these changes, living with all these dangers of wildfires, droughts, storms, and so on and so forth. Now, that is the question. What delegates from developing world, poor countries are saying is, will adaptation be taken up as a major agenda in this COP? And will it not just be limited to talks? What will be done about it? Because we have been talking about adaptation.
Because people say that, don't they? They say, COP, here we go again. Yes, hopefully something will happen. It's a talking shop. Every time we come out of it, not enough progress made. Yeah,
so the thing is, again, it all comes down to money, you see. So even for the cutting down of greenhouse gases, the technology, massive money involved. But even for adaptation, how do you become resilient? How do you help those farmers? How do you climate-proof your infrastructure? All this needs money, and poor countries are saying that is why they're, the development work, which was already challenging for them, is becoming costly, more expensive now. And we get to see if this COP will be really, really serious about adaptation, and how will they deal with the severe finance gap? That's the question.
It is a big question. Let's hope we get some